ever watched any of our previous videos here on TwoGuyzTech, then you'll probably know it's always been our philosophy that if a speaker sounds good for music, then it should sound good for movies as well. And as it turns out, today we're going to be taking a look at a 5.0 system from a company called Triangle. And we're going to try and find out if they came to the same conclusion that we have. This is the TRIANGLE Borea Series 5.0 surround sound speaker system. And today, we're going to see just how these French-designed hi-fi speakers perform in a home theater setup. We're honestly really excited to see what happens, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, then stick around, and we'll get into it right after the intro. Alright, so as I mentioned, this is the Borea 5.0 surround sound system, which was graciously sent over to us for review by Triangle, so we want to give them a big thanks for that. For those of you that aren't familiar, Triangle is actually a loudspeaker manufacturer based in France, and they make a ton of different speakers for both stereo music and home theater. This system we have for review is their Borea line, and we actually have a complete 5-channel setup to test out today. So the speakers we'll be checking out in this video are the BR09 towers, the BR03 bookshelves, and the BRC1 center channel. And as a quick side note, the models of the tower and bookshelf speakers can actually be pronounced as Bro9 and Bro3, which is how I'll be saying them for the rest of this video, but they are exactly the same as the BR09s and the BR03s. With all that said, let's get into the speakers themselves, starting with the Bro9 towers. These floor standers represent the very best that Triangle has to offer in their value-oriented Borea series. At the top, we've got Triangle's efficient flow system tweeter, which is centered around a 25mm silk dome with a built-in phase plug to help dispersion and improve off-axis frequency response. This tweeter also uses a neodymium magnet, which should offer a stronger magnetic field for better control of the silk dome itself. Below that is the Bro9's mid-range driver, which is actually pretty cool in its own right. The entire cone is made out of 100% natural cellulose paper, which honestly isn't all that different from the paper you might be using in your printer right now. And this might sound a little weird at first, but the trick is, when shaped into a cone like this, the paper actually becomes very rigid while still being pretty lightweight, which is perfect for a mid-range driver. These drivers also have a really unique inverted woven surround, which makes sure that the movement of the entire cone is linear, reducing distortion even more. Below that, we've also got 3 fiberglass cone-based drivers, which are designed to be as rigid as possible, while still being light enough to offer very good transient response. All of these drivers are mounted in some pretty hefty cabinets that stand about 43 inches tall, and each speaker weighs in at 48 pounds. Taking a look at the back, we've also got these very high quality binding posts for connecting your amplifier or AVR, and thankfully these speakers can be driven with a wide range of power sources thanks to their 8 ohm nominal impedance and actually pretty good sensitivity of 92 dB. Speaking of which, I also really like the finish on the outside. As you can see here, we have this nice matte white set, but Triangle also offers these speakers in matte black, as well as walnut and light oak wood finishes to suit your room and personal preferences. And since we're talking about aesthetics, the Borea speakers also come with these really nice looking grills, and the ones that we got are gray, and the first thing we notice is just how strong the magnets are. They'll perfectly line themselves up every single time, and once they're on the speakers, they actually look like they're floating, which is a really neat effect. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, this is a whole 5.0 system, so let's go ahead and get into the most important part of a home theater setup, which, as we've mentioned several times in previous videos, is the center channel. The Borea BRC1 center channel has a lot of the same great parts and engineering as the Bro9 towers themselves, like Triangle's custom silk dome tweeter, natural cellulose mid-range cones, and more, but there are some things that set it apart. The first thing you'll probably notice here is that we actually have 2 mid-range bass drivers, similar to the single mid-range driver on the Bro9 towers, but these drivers have rubber surrounds so they can handle more excursion for lower frequency output. Of course, as you can also tell, the center channel is ported with these 2 small ports on either side of the tweeter, which does help with bass response. And aside from the numbers like the 8 ohm impedance and 90 dB sensitivity, we're pretty much done with the center channel. So let's quickly cover the Bro3 bookshelf speakers before we go ahead and put this whole system to the test. And like the center channel, things are pretty similar. Again, we get the exact same EFS tweeter, so all the speakers should be perfectly timbre matched, and a cellulose fiber woofer with a pretty nice rubber surround. Like the center channel, these speakers are also front ported, meaning that placement should be pretty easy, and I guess that's about it. We'll be creating full reviews on both the Bro 9 towers and the Bro 3 bookshelves, so if you want to hear our thoughts on how those perform for music, then stay tuned for those. And alright, enough with the specs, let's go ahead and talk about how the system actually sounded. As usual, we got started in our main home theater room, which has a lot of acoustic treatment, and the speakers themselves will be driven with an Integra AV processor, as well as some Emotiva amps, like our UPA-1 monoblocks for the front stage, and the XPA-5 for surround sound duty. So starting with some of our favorite demo movies, like Avengers Endgame, right off the bat, we noticed that these speakers are definitely more on the neutral side, which could very well be a result of our room. So we ended up turning up the treble setting in our Integra AV processor to help adjust them to our liking. And this brought out the very clean, analytical sound of these speakers and really added a lot of life to the sound. The BRC1 center channel blended perfectly with the Bro 9s, as you'd expect, and together, along with the Bro 3s, actually formed a very dynamic and spacious soundstage that was able to pinpoint sound effects in all three dimensions at all times, and it even seemed like some sounds were extending well past the boundaries of our room. One thing that I quickly wanted to touch on before we get any further into the sound quality of the system is the bass. Triangle offers their own matching line of home theater and hi-fi subwoofers, but for this review we didn't get a chance to test any of those out. Instead, we went ahead and paired this with a few different subwoofers we had on hand, and thankfully the whole Borea system blended pretty well with pretty much all the subs that we threw at it, sealed or ported. Now, the Bro 9 sounded great without a sub as well, producing fast, tight, and articulate bass that extended all the way down to around 35 Hz, so we feel that you could definitely get by without using a separate sub with the Bro 9s, but obviously we always recommend one for home theater use. Once we finished testing in our dedicated home theater room, we went down into our living room where we continued watching movies to see how the Borea speakers would present themselves in a less than ideal open concept space. And in this room, we noticed the treble was actually too pronounced because of the lack of any acoustic treatment, so we adjusted our processor accordingly. And thankfully, despite these challenges, the Borea 5-channel system managed to pull it off, and actually sounded great in both spaces, with nothing more than a little tone control and level matching on each processor to get the speakers sounding just right. So, here's the way I see it. If you want an excellent sounding 5-channel surround sound system that can pull double duty, making movies sound great while looking great themselves, then we can definitely recommend taking a look at the Triangle Borea series. Now, obviously, we haven't tested these for music just yet, so we can't actually answer our initial question from the beginning of this video, whether or not these speakers are as good for movies as they might be for music. Well, if you want to find out the answer to that, then make sure you stay tuned because, as we mentioned, we'll be releasing separate reviews on both the Bro 3s and the Bro 9s for their music performance. And with all that said, I think it's time to wrap up this video. So again, I want to give a huge thanks to Triangle for sending over their Borea series speakers, and we really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to learn more about these speakers and any of the other products that Triangle offers, such as their subwoofers and wall systems, cables, speaker stands, and a whole lot more, then make sure to check out the link in the video description so you don't miss out. If you want to chat about home theater, technology, and a lot of other stuff with us and other members of the community, then please go ahead and check out our Discord server, and again, we'll be leaving a link down in the video description. If you have any other questions or comments on these Triangle Borea speakers, then please go ahead and let us know down in the comment section below, and we'll do our best to help you out. If you thought this video was helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our future content, and as always, have an awesome day.